Let's move on to the next one, onto the next modifier, which are soft boxes. As much as I like umbrellas, I really like soft boxes. Soft boxes are fantastic. They work really well. What soft boxes do for us is they allow us to have full control over the direction of the light. Okay, I think of umbrellas more like light grenades. Just light goes everywhere. So if you set up an umbrella, I'm going to walk over this way. If you set up an umbrella near the background, that light's going to spill all over the background. And it could impact your background lights. If you use gels or colors, it could wash those out. If the light coming from your umbrella is a different color, it can mess stuff up. So umbrellas are wonderful, but they have their limitations. And that is you can't really control the direction. Soft boxes, on the other hand, pull this guy out. Soft boxes allow us full control over where that light goes. So you can see most soft boxes have this lip on them. And what that does is it prevents light from spilling out basically past this position. So see that? Now that light's going to go here. It isn't going to go there. Soft boxes also you can shoot horizontally. You can shoot vertically. And one of the things that photographers like controlling is how the look. What does it look like in the eye? What does the catch light look like in the person's eye? Soft boxes produce this nice square catch light, kind of that, that Disneyland feeling. It's wonderful. So bigger is better. This is a Profoto softbox. It's 2 foot by 3 foot. And again, bigger is better. I've got another softbox over there. It's about a 1 by 2 foot, and I think that's just too small. If you're going to do a softbox, and if you're going to spend the money to get a softbox, get a 2 foot by 3 foot as your minimum size. Okay. You all have done this. Everyone watching today has done this. You've gone online and you're like, oh, hey, there's a softbox and it's only $62. What a great price for this softbox. But it's only this big. It's for like photographing action figures, or Star Wars or Star Trek action figures. So if you're photographing people or dog-sized objects, you really need something about that big. Let's see, what else do I need to say about softboxes real quick? There are different, of course there's different brands. I buy Profoto. This is literally mine. Creative Live has a bunch of Profoto gear too. But why do a lot of pros use Profoto? Because it's top notch. It's not going to break down. I'm going to own this thing for the next 20 years and it's going to work well. They've, these higher end softboxes, they have these heat vent flaps so you can work with hot lights, you can work with cool lights. They're just eminently useful. Let's talk about the way that that's connected. This is called a speedlight speed ring, okay? Speed ring. You'll hear that term, speed ring. Well, the speed ring is this black piece in here, and that's what these metal stays go into, okay? And then speed ring, you know what? I actually don't know the lineage of the term speed ring. I'm going to guess because it's speedy. And you can just change things around very quickly, horizontal to vertical. I think Profoto's implemented this very well, but lots of other companies like Westcott and Speedotron, there's lots of other companies that make great softbox products. But the key here, again, is the speed light connection. So I've got a little cold shoe. I can put my speed light right in there, and we're good to go. This system I could take the softbox off and I could also put it on my studio lights. So as I buy gear and as you guys buy gear, I want you to think about how can I use this with other types of lighting equipment as well. So this works with my studio and my little flashes. I think it's time to take a picture. All right, can I take a picture of you? Cool. All right, so grab a seat on the stool. Move this back. There we go. And I'm going to pull my little SB910 out. I still have the radio trigger on there. And I'm just going to put that into the cold shoe. This goes back, and what I'm going to talk about now goes back to a question that someone from the internet had, and that is, what do we do with zoom? how do we adjust the zoom on the flash? Well, I'm gonna put it in there without the diffusion dome first, and I'm gonna turn it towards your camera, and let's see if we can see in the studio audience we can see this. See how it's really not covering the upper area and the lower area? So I'm losing the effectiveness of the 2 foot by 3 foot surface area. So I'm going to put this back on there to get more diffusion inside to spread the light out outside. And you'll have to trust me on that one. She didn't get a watch. Okay, there we go. And we should get more coverage now, and we sure do. It's significant. I saw his face. It's like, ooh, yeah, that's a lot more. It matters. Now, one of the things about diffusing the light, we were using umbrellas earlier, now we're using the softboxes, is they do suck up a lot more energy from the flash. So maybe I was at an 1/8 power before. I may need to bump up at least one more stop here. We'll see what it turns out. I won't make any power settings yet, but I'm just anticipating where I might need to go here for the next shot. You ready? Okay, she is ready. So she's on the stool here, and I want, again, the flash to be a little bit above her nose, basically, a little bit above her head, and kind of pointed down to her, about like this. I'm going to raise it up a little bit there. And what I do when I'm positioning this is I imagine a shaft just coming right out of the middle of this and trying to get that shaft to kind of hit the middle of her face. Sounds aggressive, doesn't it? But I want that whole surface area shining on her face, as opposed to, that, or this, or pulled off to the side. I mean, we can do things like that. Sometimes it's important. Sometimes it looks good to do that. But in general, you want the whole surface area of the diffuser to be pointed at the subject. Okay. And close. Notice how close it is? It kind of feels uncomfortable. In fact, as I'm looking at her, here's what I see her doing. She's like, what is this thing shining at me? It won't take her long, and it'll kind of disappear and fade away from her consciousness. But close counts when you're doing studio photography. It really does. All right, let's check and make sure that we're connected, and we are. No changes. I'm still at ISO 400. I'm still at f5.6. I'm still at 1/250th of a second. And my flash is at 1/8 power minus 2/3. No changes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Fired. You're already in the computer. Yeah, it's pretty good. Nice. Look at the catch light in her eyes. Just really nice. Just such a beautiful. I love that look. I love that big catch light. I would say the photo overall is a little bit bright though. So I've got I've got a bunch of ways I can adjust this, but one way that I think the easiest way is just to reduce the power on the flash. But what I was going to say is I could also pull this back a little bit. I could keep the power the same, but I can pull this back. Well, what happens when I pull it back? I lose a little bit of the nice soft surface area. So I want to keep it close. And I'm just going to reduce the power here. I'm going to go down to I'm going to drop it about 1 full stop. So I'm down to 1/16th power minus 2/3. Here we go. Nice smile. That looked great. And we look at that image. Super. Nice catch lights. Just really nice feel on the overall scene. Some light you can see is still spilling over to the background. So it's a white backdrop, but it's turning out a little bit gray. And we're going to talk about how close should the person be to that backdrop. So that's a softbox. We can also shoot with a smaller softbox, and it'll give a similar effect. But I think in the interest of time, I'm going to move us on to the next modifier. Can anything from the internet land on softboxes?
Well, we did have a question from El Mu who said, could I just pull out that diffusion panel on the flash head and still get that spread of light in the softbox panel itself? Is it different than?
Most of our softboxes come with another diffusion panel, a second diffusion panel, and that panel goes inside. So we have the front diffusion panel here, and then a lot of them have a second diffusion panel inside, and they connect with these little clippies. That will also work. Absolutely, that will work. The downside to using that is that it does absorb more light. So once you diffuse once, I often tell people you don't often have to diffuse the diffusion. So if you put 3 diffusion points in there, that would not make sense. If you don't have that diffusion cap for the flash, then by all means use the interior, the one that goes to the interior of the softbox. Super question.
Just another quick question. Is there a limit to the size softbox that you can use when you're just using speed lights? Do they have enough power for all sizes?
I love the question because I remember thinking through that question in my early photo career, like, oh, I don't have the money to spend on pro photos, and all I've got are these little flashes. The answer is absolutely they have enough power to fill these giant diffusion sources. We just showed you a 6-foot umbrella and it works just fine. But to her point, her point, I want to show you 2 products, okay? I'm going to go grab it and I'll come right back here. These are very cool. So these are multiple flash attachments for umbrellas and softboxes. This is a triple mount. And so what that does is it allows you to connect actually 3 flashes, 1, 2, 3. And then it goes down here, it actually screws onto the top of your light stand or whatever. So if your little flash, you're finding it's a little bit underpowered. For example, let's say you're outside and you're trying to shoot on a sunny day and you're like, oh, I need more power. Give her all she's got. Well, you use this and you can put 3 on there. There's another company out there that makes a 4 flash connector. This is made by a company called PhotoFlex, and that has a 2 flash connector. And then you can see here, you can actually put the umbrella through that little hole there on top. So you can get around the fact that these little flashes don't have a lot of power by ganging them together. And if you don't want to spend the money on this, there are 2 other great products that I recommend: rubber bands and gaff tape. I use them all the time. I'll tape flashes together and just cram them into a light modifier. Work great. So let's talk now about octas, octa boxes. All right, where is my octa? Here's an octa. Okay. Octa, as in octagonal softbox. Okay, I'll pull this over so you can see it too. Octagonal softbox. Sorry, microphone people. Pull off the grid. We're going to talk about grids later today. So octagonal shape. Why this versus just rectangular? Just a typical soft box. Well, it's just a slightly different look. You know, photographers, we're all about those catch lights. We're all about fine tuning the light overall. These just have, they kind of simulate almost an umbrella round catch light, but they don't have the ribs that you get with a lot of umbrella photographs. Anyone who's shot with umbrellas in the past, you can see in the catch lights, you actually see this kind of spider ribs in the eyes. This will just give you a nice clean white surface. Soft boxes are not cheap. Again, I'm using Pro Photo. This is a 3-foot Octa. Okay, so this is a 3-foot diameter. Typically, I recommend minimum 3 feet and up to 4 or 5 feet. But once you start to get like a 5 or a 6-foot Octa, you're in the $500 range very quickly. I think this is probably, I'm going to guess 200, 250, somewhere in that range. So I love them. They also work great. You can really control where the light's coming from. It's just a different look, a different feel. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll use maybe an Octa as the key light and then a softbox as the fill. So the Octa kind of gives you that nice catch light and gives you the overall look, and then the rectangular one fills in the shadows. Or vice versa, you know, knock yourself out, whatever you like. You can see here the same general setup. I've got my speed light, speed ring, and then I've got, this is called an umbrella bracket, and then I've got the standard light stand. And this is a heavier duty light stand. Most of the time when I'm using the soft boxes, I use a really heavy duty aluminum light stand, or I use a C stand, and I'll pull the C stands out in a little while too. So shall we take a photo? Let's take a photo. You mind being our model again? Yep. It's so nice of you. Thank you. This is pretty much going to give the same look, and we probably won't have to change the power much at all. So grab my flash. And as I'm setting this up, I just want to make a point. You do this enough times in manual, in manual flash mode, you can pretty much just set it no matter where you are in the world at the same settings. And this is one of the things that over the years I've learned that, oh yeah, ISO 400, f5.6, 1/16th power in a softbox. Take the picture. Great. You can almost, you notice that I'm not doing a lot of back and forth in my exposures when I'm looking at them in Lightroom. I'm almost always there, almost in the first or second guess. So manual doesn't have to be scary. Manual can be really easy. All right, let's check. We're connected. Life is good. Softbox photo. Again, ISO 400. I'm at f5.6. I'm at a 2/50th of a second. And I'm at a 16th minus 2/3. And for this one, I'm going to have you maybe turn your body this way just a little bit. Yep, looking a little bit more into that. And I'll have you take one photo looking at the camera. Great. And then another photo kind of looking at that umbrella. So the first one at the camera. 1, 2, 3. And then the next one. No, actually, how about, why don't you look at the edge of the softbox? Great. Okay. Just to get a different look. Oh, you can see I got a little bit of the softbox in the upper right-hand corner. That happens. Super. So there's the one with her looking straight at the camera. Here's one just looking away a little bit. And I'm going to zoom in real tight on your eye, okay? Just to see the catch light. This loads. This is a big 36 megapixel file, so it's going to take just a second to load. There we go. Looks like I missed focus a little bit. You can see I focused on her ear. Amateur Mike. But we get a feel for what that looks like. We get a feel for that catch light. That's great. In fact, it's bothering me just enough that I have to shoot it again. If I was shooting this professionally and she was a client, that photo right there would not pass because it's not in focus. So I'll do that again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Great. Got to do it right. And the fact that I'm wireless means I can move these lights all around the stage and I'm not tripping over everything. So that's cool. Okay, cool. That's nice. Nice catch light. Mo Betta this time. Hopefully I got you in focus. Oh yeah, nailed it. You get a feel for that catch light. You can see, this goes back to the question that was just asked on the internet about that interior diffusion panel inside. Well, these octaboxes also have an interior diffusion panel. And what that does is it prevents that little plus pattern. See that star pattern in there? You know what that's from? That's from the single point source of light from the speed light. If I have the interior diffusion panel inside of the softbox, it'll be clean white surface. I don't know. What do you think? Is it significant? Is it not? Sometimes we get all too pin up, all nervous about these little details. But in high-end fashion and portraiture, it does matter. So there is the Octa. Cool? Question on Octa, Kenna?
Just a quick question from Jeff Robinson, who noticed that the speedlight head wasn't exactly in the center of the octabox. Does it need to be? Does that matter?
Yeah, I was going to say something about this earlier, but I didn't. So thanks for asking the question. I'll pull this out so y'all can see. So how am I triggering this here? Well, I've got the little radio trigger underneath it, and then I have the flash on top of that. Well, typically, if all you do is mount the flash by itself, well, it's basically centered. Not exactly, but close enough, right? Now when I add another, what's that, about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, well, that moves the flash up. That's one of the prices you pay. So there's no easy answer here. One possibility, these radio triggers have what's called a PC port. PC, positive connection, that's what it stands for, PC. So if you get a PC cable, and when you buy these, they actually come with PC cables, you can screw it in there, and then you can screw the other end of the PC cable into there on the flash, and then what you can do is just let this thing dangle down, or my best friend, gaff tape. You can gaff tape it to the side, something like that, and then it's actually centered. The bigger question is, does it matter? Not so much. Ideally, you would have it exactly in the middle. In fact, a lot of umbrella photographers buy specific umbrella stands that make the flash go kind of like this, right in line with the shaft. And that's a really good thing to do because then it centers the flash. So, I mean, you saw the photo. It's not a terrible photo. And the flash isn't exactly centered. So, and if you diffuse it, that helps things out even more.
Thank you.
Super question.
So if I want more power through this circle, how do I push another flashlight in there? It looks like the different setups that you showed before wouldn't work here.
Yeah, I love that question too. Let me show that real quick. So we talked about gaff tape, and gaff tape matters. Oh, is my gaff tape gone? It's gone. Okay, no worries. I'll just make it up. Oh, you got it. We'll use that. Perfect. So gaff tape is a photographer's best friend, and there's a company called ProGaff, and this is where I buy all my gaff tape. There's a bunch of different types of gaff tape, but I think ProGaff makes the best. They make it in white and black and all different colors. And the idea with gaff tape is that it doesn't leave a residue after you take it off, like duct tape would. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to find a way to get this whole thing to work together, right? So it's obviously not going to work like that, and I don't have my PC cable, so what can I do? Well, what if I just pull this thing out like that, and I put this thing in there like this, right? And then I put another radio trigger here on the bottom, put it in there, and then I just gaff the whole thing together and maybe just gaff it down on top of that. Great. I do this all the time. You don't have to have an actual connection point as long as the stuff is in there fairly solid. If you're trying to impress a $1 million client, don't use gaff tape on set. But if you're just shooting in your garage, well, this works just fine. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, improvise.
Yeah, improvise, exactly right.